Luxury travelers don't just want a place to stay. They want an experience. And Kevin Duran is making sure that they get one.
That's what JKW is ultimately going to be transitioning towards, is to a brand of portfolios. And then on top of that, on our back end, we have monthly meetings with other property owners within the portfolio, and we're just bouncing ideas off of each other. Also kind of like a mastermind group on the back end.
His company is combining concierge services with direct bookings and a luxury membership model. Is this the future of short-term rentals?
Yeah, so it's full concierge service. So we provide shuttle transportation from the airport directly to the resorts, grocery delivery service, massage, private chef, anything.
Airbnb and Vrbo are not the only ways to book short-term stays. What if there was a better model that helped guests and hosts alike?
So I'm building that relationship with that client, and they're going to want to come back to me year after year. And that's, basically I've only been hosting for about a year and a half now, and now I've had a whole year of historical data to work with, and now going into this next upcoming busy season.
I'm 31-time Airbnb superhost Jason Muth. I worked in the media business for over 25 years, and in 2016, I started my chapter 2, which was through short-term rentals. Since then, we've welcomed over 5,000 guests and their furry friends to our properties. And now we're here to show you how to create a smart stay. Now, on with the show. All right, Kevin Duran, welcome to Smart Stay Show. What's going on?
Hey, thanks, Roy. Thanks, Jason, Rory, Jason, for having me. Really appreciate it. Super stoked to be here.
I heard this is your first podcast. Rory, we have done that before with other people on this show. We're grateful that people have chosen to spend their very first podcast with Smart Stay Show. Rory, do you think we should ask all the hard questions now or later on?
I don't know if we'll start with the gotcha questions, but I'll actually start with with my favorite topic. That's us. So we just got back from a trip to Disney World, which since we're so deep into the short-term rental world, it was a reminder that that's not how everybody does vacations. People don't go to the Airbnbs and Vrbos and book properties. There are a lot of other ways out there, including traditional resorts, traditional hotel stays, and timeshares as well. So I know we're not talking about a timeshare per se here, but you have another model that's a little bit different from the short-term rental stays that we're used to seeing on Airbnb and Vrbo. Can you tell us a little bit about your company and what your model looks like?
Yeah, so the company's named JKW Vacation Club. We're a family-owned business, a platform built by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs with the values of owners helping owners. In a nutshell, we have a membership model. It's designed like a ski pass. A member of ours purchases an X amount of days, and they have those days to use at any of the properties within the JKW portfolio.
Now, if you're an owner listening to this, which we do have a lot of like independent individual owners, and part of what we're all looking to do is fill our calendars. What is the advantage of working with somebody like JKW Vacation Club? And how can that fill up our calendars better?
Yeah, so I like to think about it as we're just adding another layer of optimization to the booking calendar. So we have a wide variety of marketing strategies that we use organically, and then we grab your social media, your pictures, your social media, and put it onto our brand. That's what JKW is ultimately going to be transitioning towards, is to a brand of portfolios. And then on top of that, on our back end, we have monthly meetings with other property owners within the portfolio, and we're just bouncing ideas off of each other. Also kind of like a mastermind group on the back end. And then also sharing information. Okay, what's working in Palm Springs? What's working in Mexico? What's going to work here in Park City, Utah here shortly, Silverton, Colorado. So we're just a lot of owners that work together and bouncing the ideas off each other.
You're also looking for people to stay in these properties, right? Like you're a kind of a two-sided marketplace, like where you need properties to put guests into the properties as well. So what's the advantage of a guest that comes to you and says, hey, listen, like we want to be a member of, JKW Vacation Club?
Yeah, so it's full concierge service. So we provide shuttle transportation from the airport directly to the resorts, grocery delivery service, massage, private chef, anything. I like to live that bougie lifestyle, so I like our members to live that bougie lifestyle.
That falls in line with what we're hearing a lot of with trends these days in short-term rentals, which is creating experiences. It also falls in line with people of your generation. Kevin, I can unabashedly say that you are younger than I am, and you are probably of the crew of folks that want to live, an excellent lifestyle when you travel, and experiences are super important to you, so you spend money for it. But yeah, that's what we're hearing a lot of in the short-term rental space these days. It's not just providing a roof over your head, that's heated and cooled in the summertime with a comfortable bed. It's really immersing yourself in the market where the short-term rental operates. And then it's beyond that now. It's how can you localize the experience? How can you create it so it's memorable for the guests, not just with what you have on site, but what things there are to do in the area? And it sounds as though that is falling in line with your model as well.
Absolutely. We also take it a step further in terms of our Rocky Point properties. We offer whale watching tours, horseback riding. All that can just be booked through the app. Shout out to Hostco. Love that. If you're not using that for your short-term rental business, highly recommend it. Allows you to maximize these upsells, another revenue stream.
We were speaking with Garrett Brown from Bigger Pockets on this, a couple months ago, and he was talking about his glamping sites in Texas and how he has upsell packages. I believe, Rory, was I right that he had like his cleaning team on the ground would set stuff up? Was that what his model was? Like if there was a birthday or bachelorette party or anniversary or something, like, he would upsell that package, and then part of it would be he'd be the fulfiller. Rory, do you remember that?
Well, he had a lot of his cleaning crews set and trained on how to implement the different packages. So I think he's a little bit more on the ground with that stuff as well, but he had his cleaning crew able to set up the anniversary package, the birthday package, or whatever his offerings were.
Yeah. And I've always thought of those things. That's great. Like, I've always seen it as like, oh my God, that's like more room for error. It's like more stuff I can get wrong. Like people like myself that we're scaling up our businesses, we've been doing this for a long time. Like we're trying to put as much automation, as much great guest messaging, be able to replicate everything, so you can get 90% done. And then that final 10%, you could somehow customize it. So Kevin, you're introducing, the host co-model also, which we should talk about a little bit, is all about upsells, isn't it?
Correct.
So you're leaning into that. Like you see a big opportunity to have these great destinations with short-term rental properties and adding on all these experiences as well. Like why do you think that combination is where we're headed?
I like to think about it as bundling experiences. I think that's the direction we're going. It's also that relational approach. That's the methodology I bring into this. If I'm providing all these extra experiences and providing this extra awesome customer service, I'm building that relationship with that client, and they're going to want to come back to me year after year. And that's, basically I've only been hosting for about a year and a half now, and now I've had a whole year of historical data to work with, and now going into this next upcoming busy season. The calendar's starting to book up. People, JKW's name is getting out there in the world of Phoenix and Scottsdale, where most of our client base is at. But going back to your question, it's going back to that relational, providing that top quality service to our guests, providing the best guest experience.
What have you learned in that year and a half of operating with, the model where you want to add on different experiences? Like what things have been working really well for you? What things haven't been working well, or what are some surprises in either direction?
Oh man, let's start with that didn't work well, is bouncing from so many PMS tools, not knowing which one's the best one to work with. I know this is a hospitable shop with you guys, so I'm honestly considering hopping over there. Sorry, Host Away.
Hey, there's a lot of great ones out there. We are not sponsored by Hospitable. We just happen to be on Hospitable. I know that we have had Hospitable people on the podcast as well, but in STR Secrets, the mastermind that I'm in, people are using Guesty, they're using Hostfully, they're using OwnerRez. I mean, there's a lot of these out there. So, we're partial to Hospitable because that's the direction that we picked a couple of years ago. And so, the way I like to operate is I like to cross things off my list. Right. I like to make the decision and move on. So when we were vetting PMSs, we just said, hey, Hospitable, this seems like a pretty good one. Cross it off the list. Like it's now been out of sight, out of mind for me. So, but continue on. Yeah, you could speak about any of the PMSs. That's fine.
No worries. So that was a little bit of challenge. And that's why it's the big thing for, property owners and new hosts is having that layer of support that you really need. So that's really crucial in finding a right PMS tool. Outside of the fact is what I've learned specifically in the market of Rocky Point and in Mexico, it's very direct booking driven, but also very OTA driven. We've coming out with some cool strategies in terms of our direct bookings, scouring Facebook groups, scouring all these forums. We basically have a team of virtual assistants now that go in and make these relationships with these potential prospects, and bringing them, telling them about JKW, and then ultimately having them book.
That is super interesting. Like talk about that a little bit because, again, I've taken the path of least resistance. Like I lean into Airbnb and Vrbo specifically because of their marketing engines, right? Like the fees that we pay go toward all the retargeting and their algorithm and everything that helps promote our properties. And you and I have probably seen the same podcast and the same discussions about direct booking, that are out there. And we believe in it. I mean, like we have direct booking sites and everything, but you're taking an active role in your promotion. If you have VAs that are going into Facebook groups trying to promote your properties, like why did you decide to do that? And what is that process like?
So I love sales. And so, I got my degree in professional sales. I did software sales at Google, software sales at Dropbox. Now I do corporate hat sales for, I sell hats to corporate companies, Western style fedoras and all that. But I just wanted to build my own sales team. And that's basically the approach. And that's how it talks about relationships. And, these VAs are representing me and my company on my behalf. And then they basically know the script. They go in and we have two methodologies of where we lean towards them for the direct bookings where they can try it. They can book with us for the weekend. And if they like it, they can purchase a membership. And then we can use the funds that they used for that short-term rental to roll over to our membership. I hope that answers your question. We can dive a little deeper on that as well.
Yeah, actually, I do want to ask, like, so you have the VAs that have your tried and true sales process, but what's interesting is you're finding people that you're converting people that stay at your property into members, or at least that's your objective, whereas most of us, we'd love to get a repeat guest, right? I kind of feel I'm hot and cold about repeat guests, and I'll explain why, right? I'm cold about it when people that are staying in a cheaper off-season rate want to book a summer rate. And then they get sticker shock when they see how much it is. And, suddenly the good relationship that we had with a guest sours because they realize they're not going to get a steal for that. And we've had some people that are like that. I've also had some people that we've inherited, from past owners if we're co-hosting, or people that we've allowed to stay at our places for many years early on before we really knew what we were doing. And you try to gently increase their rates and, they're sticker shock too. But, we're trying to optimize rates both for our clients and for ourselves. But what I do love about repeat guests is that it's a known quantity, right? You kind of know what you're going to get. You know that person was a good guest, presumably, because if they're a bad guest, you're probably not going to invite them back. And there's less risk for, the unknown, even though we work in mostly the unknown for 99% of our bookings, because they're just new people that come to us. But, instead what you're doing there is you're finding your guests, and then you're trying to convert them into a member so they can go stay in other properties that are part of your portfolio, and you're keeping them within your ecosystem. And that's a really interesting way to go about doing it. Most people that listen to this podcast are probably individual 1, 2, 3 operators, if that, so they're just looking for the repeat at their property, but you're looking for the repeat within your entire portfolio. Is that right?
Correct. And then just to give some depth on it as well is I call it the Facebook group prospecting lead hunting. There's Facebook groups in Florida, Alabama, all over, people looking for direct rentals. To me, that's still a lead. Yeah, I'm out here in Mexico, but that's still the lead. And so, the Facebook group algorithm, and then what connects to WhatsApp, we just shoot that. Hey, I'm looking for a 2-bedroom condo this day, and they say, cool. We shoot that lead straight to our WhatsApp group. And so we've collected a database now of over probably close to 10,000 just people type it in, hey, looking for a direct rental, boom, boom. So we have that data, and then once we go into our next phase of the business, is we're funneling all those into our own community, JKW, verified direct rentals and owners. And so that's what's important to start if we're trying to build this network, and across the world, I guess you could say. It's important to work with hosts that are of that same mindset, that want to create something special.
Yeah. I mean, as you're kind of building up the network effect, I can understand the more properties you have, then the more diverse offerings you have to the members, and then the more you can attract more members, and there's going to be an upward network effect there. But a question I have for you is, how do you both differentiate the properties in the different locations so that they have like a real customized, good experience in that one market that feels unique, but also kind of standardize things so that somebody who stays in one property and gets one level of service is satisfied when they go to another property, especially if you are not the owner of all the properties? How do you standardize that experience while differentiating the travels?
Well, it's definitely it's that brand, so it's that standard that we hold. So I want to work with property owners that do that exceptional service. For example, GPM, Gordon Property Management out in Palm Springs. If you're ever in Palm Springs, need a vacation rental, go stay with them. But she's a prime example of the JKW quality approval, I guess you could say, the Kelly Blue Book. I guess that's what we're trying to go for. But I'm a big business development guy. We got to build relationships, trust, and that another thing to bring up is through my year and a half is like how important relationships are in this STR world, and how loving this community is. But going back to it, we just have a checklist of things like, are you able to provide these services to their members, adhering to these quality standards? And reviews play a big role in if we want to work with them or not.
So what type of properties are ideal? Like if you're listening to this and you have a standout property or something in one of the markets that you're operating in, or one of the markets that are, on your growth map, what do you look for in those?
So I'm taking the B2B approach. So I just got turned down by American Express. I'm just not big enough yet. So I have a lot of these connections in terms of the B2B world, but we're looking for properties that are luxury, that are unique. Some areas where we need to have bigger facilities. So, for example, something that can host for corporate retreats. And I guess I'll tell you kind of our business needs. So we specialize in corporate gifting, employee incentive programs, tax write-offs for businesses. So anything luxury that kind of fits within our JKW portfolio. We have the beaches. I want some mountains. So speaking to a property owner in Dallas who has some beautiful log cabins, hot tubs and everything. So like a small little resort in the middle of the mountains that he's a awesome host. So I hope that gives some depth to it.
Yeah. So then when let's say after that conversation, is he turning over the co-hosting of the property to you, or is he remaining on and then you are an additional marketing arm?
Two methods to that. So we can do the co-hosting route, or we do a flat fee route, which basically you buy not necessarily buy my franchise, but you're buying a household name, and then you have these additional marketing services provided to you. So like I said, we're just another layer of optimization to the booking calendar. Any reservations I bring in for your property, then I'll take my cut.
Right. So you do have a model where somebody could still retain, the hosting or retain the listing, where
Correct.
they might get 80% of the bookings themselves, but if you're able to market the property to your database of people and whoever else for the other 20%, you'll plug those guests in, and then you'll get paid on those specific bookings.
Correct.
How does it work, like, operationally? I try not to get too ahead of myself with how is that going to integrate with that? Because that's not the big thinking. The big thinking is what you're doing, and then there's the nuts and bolts of, like, how does it logistically work so the calendar's not double booked, or so you have so you have some type of say in the guest communication that's happening. Like, what does it look like after you've plugged in with someone that said, yes, bring me some guests? How does that work next?
Yeah, so it's right now it's just by a phone call, honestly. So a lot of we talk about that relational approach. I come from a country club golf experience working out there. So once I pre-vetted these renters and understand their needs, where they're wanting to go, then I'll call the property owner up, GPM, for example. Hey, I have a guest that's wanting to stay with you. Could we do a three-way call or three-way text message, coordinate, see if this is the right fit? Cool. And so that's the process right now. Where I am running a roadblock is, how do I connect this PMS to their PMS, and like my website, how can I track that user flow to their website? That's the pain points I'm going through right now, is just trying to how to track all these data streams.
How are some ways that you're using tech in your business, besides VAs and, your back end? Like, what are some things that have worked really well for you?
Seamless AI. So again, come from a big sales background. Seamless AI, way better than Zoom Info. Their data is just spot on. So, for example, if I want to look up CEO of Sharpie, I got Sharpie here. I can type into CEO Sharpie company. I'm able to scrape that data. It's kind of crazy the things you can do with AI now. And I get a phone number, I get an email, I put that email on an email automation, or I'll just ring the CEO of Sharpie up and say, hey, what's up? Do you want to buy a vacation membership?
Yeah, I mean, like, you're kind of merging the vacation rental world with, some really good sales tactics that are out there. Having worked in the technology sales world, you're aware of things like Zoom Info and Seamless, where you're able to get people's information. We did a little bit of that when we started prospecting in Provincetown, which is where we're co-hosting, and we put together a really good lead list before we even did anything else, just to kind of see what the marketplace was. And we were probably a little less sophisticated than you were, but we did get some help offshore with people that are good at skip tracing to try to find some phone numbers and email addresses of people that we could do outreach to. And we did. And the outreach was a combination of outbound emails and direct mailers. We've opted not to make phone calls and texts because we just don't want to, frankly. But if you're aggressive in sales, you should. Like, you're the one that's going to pick the phone up and call the CEO of Sharpie. I'm like, I don't want to do that, but like, I don't want to, so I don't have to. Right. But it's probably something we should be doing. Like, if we want to make 100 phone calls and get hung up on 80 times, those other 20 are going to be valuable conversations. We're fully aware of that. And we're physically choosing not to do it. You are choosing to do it. Right. But you're not probably doing it yourself, are you? Do you have a team of people that
so
are?
I'm doing it myself right now. It's we're in the startup phase, and so I'm the boots on the ground effort right now. So I have to lay down the foundation, get comfortable with it before I bring a team on. And all right, I trust you to represent JKW.
So what are some things that you would want to leave our audience thinking about if they want to work with you? Either they have a great vacation home and they want to figure out if it would fit with your goals and your portfolio, or if they're a guest that's considering staying in these types of places.
Perfect. So I like to think of we're a community-driven approach. We're helping hosts maximize revenue. So if you're in Charlotte, North Carolina, and you're connected to someone here in Seattle, this JKW network is going to help you in terms of just data to help you, rebuild it. Sorry, I'm getting a little cut. So community-driven approach, helping hosts maximize revenue. So if you're wanting to add another layer of optimization to your booking calendar, we're the people to help. If you're looking for someone that's bringing these untraditional methods to the vacation rental industry, like, this is where we're a part of. We are going to cap the amount of people we are going to work with. So please reach out to me. Let's see if we can work together in that way. And overall, like, with, I guess, adding a little bit more depth, the plan is if your property is there, we're planning on hiring a membership experience manager in your local area to be that JKW representative on the ground, to gather that content, to make sure that JKW brand is being held, but also taking care of your property. So being a part of JKW, going to be a part of the family.
It's a super interesting new layer, that we haven't talked about too much on this podcast. We're also relying on the OTAs and finding our own bookings. Is having kind of a concierge service, can bring bookings your way if you have a luxury property or what have you. I know in the medium-term rental space, this can kind of be done nurturing relationships with placement agencies, that work with folks if they have an insurance claim or if they're a business traveler and they need somewhere for a longer period of time. That's how a lot of people that play the medium-term rental game are getting guests. But for the ultra luxury tier, and we've talked to some luxury operators here on this podcast, it's different. Like, sure, Airbnb wants to showcase all these beautiful luxury properties. That's partly what they were trying to do with their experiences last year, just showing these really one-of-one type situations, like stay in the Polly Pocket house or stay in the Ferrari factory or whatever crazy stuff they did last year. But taking this ultra luxury tier, sometimes it's not as simple as throw it on Airbnb and find guests. Sometimes having a secondary layer that helps market the property is not a terrible idea. And then including things like HostCo and all these upgrades, it makes it more of a full experience because a lot of the people that are traveling to those places, that's probably what they're looking for. So, we think you're onto something here, Kevin. We hope that you're able to scale it up well.
Thank you.
Yeah, get a good
And
group
one more thing
of properties.
One more thing for the owners, basically, with our membership model is that, member stays with me. Jason, you have a property. Let's say, you and I come up with a fixed rate of $500 for the week, just throwing a number out there. A member requests to stay at your property. I'm like, Jason, hey, Rory's coming and staying. Here's your 500. So I'm going to be your best client as well. So you're going to be receiving revenue from me as well.
All right. We're going to put your website and links and everything in the show notes for this episode. So if you want to get a hold of Kevin, you can easily find him on Instagram. You can find the Facebook group there. You can find his website, all that stuff. Just go to the show notes. Rory will also put a link to STR Legal in str.legal in the show notes. That's the website, right?
That's right.
All right. And if you want to be a guest on the podcast, please go to smartstateshow.com, fill out our form. We'll reach out to you if we think it would be a great, interesting topic. We love 5-star reviews. We love you to subscribe and tell your friends about this. And we thank you so much for listening. Kevin, Rory, thank you for being guests. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Peace.